Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Movie and a Hunt. I'm RJ.
And I'm Paige.
And today, we're going down a weird road.
Is it, though?
If you told me, at one point you guys are going to do a Marvel, anything Marvel related, I'd been like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That can't happen. Marvel's not scary. Don't minus Doctor Strange 2, don't try that with me.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to say, it's Sam Raimi. I'm not, I know where you're going to go with that. Well, we're doing Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yesterday when we recorded it.
Yeah, so the week that we're recording this. And we were supposed to do Scooby-Doo, I know. I don't know if you guys were waiting for that fun stuff, but this came out and it wasn't on my radar. And RJ had this great idea, and we're going into our second season, which is all about monsters, and we're eventually going to hopefully do a couple of the Universal monsters, fingers crossed. And this would be a nice little, put your foot in the water, try it out, see how it was.
I think for me, I remember I saw this trailer. This trailer only came out at D23, which was the beginning, like first couple weeks of September, so very short notice. It came out, I was like, black and white, this is weird. And then I was like, it's horror? This is even weirder, because it's Marvel, and it's Disney. And then when the trailer was going on, I'm like, is that Elsa Bloodstone? Like, are they going to really bring Elsa Bloodstone into the MCU? Because I was like, oh, this is probably like a side thing. Because Elsa Bloodstone's a very odd character to bring in. I love her. But she's weird to bring into, like, mainstream Marvel.
With, like, Iron Man and Captain America type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because she was part of an iteration of the Midnight Suns, which was Blade, Mr. Knight, which is Moon Knight in a suit.
Okay.
It was her, Man-Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Man-Thing's in this movie. Dr. Voodoo. You don't know who Dr. Voodoo is. Mm-hmm. That won't make sense. Iron Fist.
Okay.
And Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider's like in all iterations of Midnight Suns, it feels like. But we're getting she's the second, and Man-Thing's technically the third. But we're getting the Midnight Suns characters introduced into the MCU at a very steady pace, especially because Blade's going to be coming in soon.
Can't wait.
There's only so long until Ghost Rider can come out.
Oh, yeah.
Keanu. Just give me some Keanu Ghost Rider.
That would be great.
I want gritty Keanu as Ghost Rider.
Don't we all?
But he's doing Constantine now.
Oh,
so.
yeah, I know. I'm happy about that.
We'll do Constantine because that's technically horror.
Yeah, and that would be fun.
Yeah, and we can do the first one too.
Mm.
However, I'm gonna go on nerdy tangents. I'm just putting it out there.
That's fine. I'm more of a DC fan, so please go on and get me educated because I don't.
I love how you're like, I'm the DC fan, and I'm like, bitch. The perma ink on our skins begs to differ which one's the DC fan. I have a literal forearm that's Red Robin. I have 0 Marvel tattoos, so I also am more DC. But I like the weird stuff in Marvel, the stuff that it's not cosmic. I hate cosmic shit, but the weirder stuff,
offbeat,
like the Marvel Knights. It's you look at them, people be like, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, "Yes, that's what I want." But what'd you think of, before we get in, what'd you think, going into this, what it was going to be, and then kind of what it ended up being?
Well, I didn't really know much about it. Pretty much I knew it was coming out. I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll check it out for spooky season. And it was getting really good reviews. And I was like, okay, cool. Looks like old Universal monsters. Okay, I'm very interested. But Marvel, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. And we saw the director, Michael Giacchino, who I know for obviously his music from Lost, and he does a lot of Disney stuff now. And I was like, that's weird. I didn't know he directs. And I was like, okay, now I'm feeling a little on the fence about it. So going in, I didn't have high expectations, but coming out, it was a good time.
This is what I feel like. Hey, it was way gorier than I thought it would be. There was
Yeah.
actual blood and actual, death.
Mm-hmm.
Something Marvel really doesn't like to do. But everyone keeps critiquing Marvel, and I'm one of those people. It's the Marvel third act syndrome, where like the first two acts of a movie. The prime example for me would have been Shang-Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Love the first two acts. The third act falls into like the Marvel stereotypical
Yeah.
big battle fight scene.
I felt the same
You've
way
seen
with
it
that one.
100
That was a good
times.
movie, but then
It was
it
really
fell
good.
fell short at the end for me.
And we get this movie where everyone's saying like, "Hey, just do something different for once, please." The reason why people are kind of shitting on it now, if they're not, raging racist, sexist individuals, is because it's very formulaic.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of tired of the formula.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though the movie that kind of started making it apparent of the formula, which is it's a movie I enjoy. I enjoy this. I don't know how you feel about it. Is Captain Marvel.
I don't mind it, but I do understand where you're coming from with formulaic with that one specifically.
It was I feel like because there was so many team ups for like years and years, and then Captain Marvel was kind of like returned to old, and everyone was like, but why didn't you try anything new? That was probably my main issue with Captain Marvel was it followed a formula too hard.
I agree.
But the aesthetic, and I own like a premium of Captain Marvel. I love that movie for like guilty pleasure reasons. I like kind of the aesthetic. I like when she gets to Earth and how fun it gets.
The story's fun, the characters are fun, but it's in that 1, 2, 3, 4 beat, which I'm like, okay, this is over and done with. Like you said, it would have been nice if they tried something different.
Like that came out in 2018, and we were kind of over that stuff in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was. Why didn't you bring something new?
Mm-hmm.
This was new.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, if you look at like critic reviews, it's the highest Marvel's been in a while. Like even like I love Doctor Strange too. Critics, it didn't hold up.
Doctor
Thor
Strange 2 was
didn't
fun.
really hold up.
Yeah, I know, and that was fun too.
Eternals didn't hold up. Eternals makes sense. Eternals was a little boring at times, I would say. Shang-Chi did very well, but then it fell into stereotypical Marvel at the end. This is like, it's getting good reviews from not only reviewers, but viewers, which is rare. And I'm interested to see if this maybe will lead Marvel to maybe not be afraid to take certain chances anymore, because this was not stereotypical. Maybe it had the Marvel kind of comedy at moments, but that was all I can really say was like Marvel about it.
I'm thinking if they do and they see the success with this, which obviously they will, I think they're going to keep their eggs in a basket with their formula because it's safe. They know people are going to show up for those movies because people are used to it. But if they're able to throw in things like this that are different and fresh and have a completely different feeling, that's where I was like, wow, with Doctor Strange 2. They let Sam do what Sam wanted to do for the most part. Same thing with the new Thor movie. They're different. They're still in the formula, but they're kind of branching out, and it's good to see that.
I feel like it's Disney Plus. They'll allow more freedom too.
I agree.
WandaVision was a big one,
yes.
And then eventually it fell into Marvel at the end. But the first 8 episodes, it was different. I'm not the biggest fan of the character Loki, but I can admit the show Loki was very out there for like a Marvel concept. And then you had a show like Falcon and the Winter Soldier that was a little bit more formulaic to what Marvel is, and that's the one I feel like people bash the most. Like that and Hawkeye were the two like very stereotypical Marvel shows, and I think those are the two that people usually have like the whole it's boring, or I just didn't care enough to watch it, or it got really slow. And, it's kind of showing that, like, maybe the movies can't transfer to, 6 hours of content very well.
Right. But with this...
And also, this movie's 53 minutes.
That's it's just a TV special, but I'm excited to talk more about it and dig a little bit deeper into it.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
All right. Usually I'd be like, Wikipedia, lead the way. But we just watched this. It was short. We're probably not going to go, like, beat by beat. We're just going to go to, like,
major
the parts.
plots,
So let's talk about the beginning.
Okay.
Because it's I think it has a very memorable beginning. I can remember exactly as it happened. Love the logo. Um, and I'll like to skip to the end. The logo in black and white and in color both look nice.
Yeah,
like
it does
they
look
did
good.
a good job. Music, great.
I mean,
but makes
look
sense.
who's directing it, and of course at the end I was looking at the credits, and of course he did the music. I don't think he'd let anyone else touch it.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Now I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Do you also feel like there were moments where this did feel like, oh yeah, you could tell this was definitely a music video or like a music person that was maybe directing it a little bit more, because it was just the way the set design was laid out, it kind of felt like slightly more music video-esque rather than film-esque.
Yeah, I could see that. And it felt a little bit more artsy, but I know that
Yeah.
they were going for a specific theme and a specific feel, obviously. In the beginning, the intro and the music sounds exactly like the old
Yes.
Frankenstein or Dracula, or, you know, what is it? The Lagoon? Swamp
Oh,
Thing?
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Thank you, thank you. Just like that. So maybe that has a bit to do with it.
I mean, I will say, in the first 10 seconds, you know what you're in. Like, you know what you're getting yourself into with this movie. Now, the gore that follows, you don't know what you're running into,
I was
but that's
surprised.
because it has Disney in
Yeah.
the name. Like, it's Disney. There will be no blood. They'll kill somebody, but it's going to be off screen.
Right.
And then the first time they kill a person, I think you and I both kind of sat there in amazement that they just killed a person. And then when they killed the fifth person, we were like, oh, there's 5 in this movie? Like, it was constant shock whenever there was some form of blood.
Yeah.
Especially the scene where Jack attacks all of the guards
Oh,
and
yeah.
the blood kind of like spurts onto the screen. Great stylistic choice. We'll get to it when we're there. But it's probably the most memorable kind of just steady. It was a static shot as well. It maybe did some panning, but that was about it. But it was very memorable in my head. I can remember that scene very well. But we get in, and the doors open. We open up to Jack. Already, you can tell whoever is working on this is trying their hardest to make sure this is perfect. To the lighting, to the makeup, to just everything. They made sure that this was going to work in black and white.
The costuming as well. Yeah. And if you don't know, you have to paint and use certain colors when you're filming in black and white for certain things to pop out in ways that you want it to. So if you're on set, a lot of the things are like either painted purple or a green or an orange to get these wacky colors. If you see some of the behind the scenes for old movies back in the day, it looks straight out of like an LSD acid trip. But it all has purpose to get that certain style.
I mean, just in case they haven't, they've released some behind the scenes of this movie when it was in color. It looks like an acid trip, I will say that.
Exactly. That's
But
good.
if you want like a real-time example of what it looks like, WandaVision has a documentary, but also when they go back to the set, you see how just blue everything is. There's you use a lot of blue, is what I've always seen. But we get in there, and I said it, the minute you get in the hallway with all the paintings, I'm like, this is the opening to the haunt. This is the actual opening, because it's perfect. And then you walk into like, I think it's like, it's probably like the main room, giant window on the top, and it's just, I call it the Haunted Mansion room because it just reminds me of the Haunted Mansion at Disney World. And the heads of all, I'm guessing, of all the monsters that were part of previous hunts.
Yes, I'm
that
guessing.
would like dictate who get the next bloodstone. Like that was the monster. Fantastic practical effects on those monsters, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. They were really good. And also it gave me the feeling like we're meeting, or at least visually seeing, the characters that are going to be involved in this hunt. It reminded me of something like way back in the day, the original House on Haunted Hill, when everybody comes into the house and you're in the main foyer, and you meet all the characters. It definitely gave that same feel. But you're right. The practical effects on those busts of the animals, especially the vampire, holy shit.
There was one that wasn't that good. They only showed it for like a brief second towards the end of the movie. It was like a goblin.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That one looked a little hokey. It looked a little D&D-ish, is the best
yeah,
way I can put it. But they knew that vampire was their like piece de resistance because they kept going back to
yeah.
it. And I was like, you know what? If I was you and I saw that, I would get that on screen as much as I can as well. I'm hoping someone got to keep, like,
Oh
someone
yeah.
got a bust as like a present because
Oh,
those
I'm
things
sure.
are beautiful.
I'm sure.
We get introduced to everybody. We get introduced. Well, it's weird because this is a movie where not a movie. It's a special, I guess, but it does a very good job following two characters concurrently. We get introduced to Jack, and Jack is our introduction to all the other hunters. There's David Bowie. There's I call him Scottish Man just because I don't know his name,
Yeah.
but he was very Scottish. There was it was there was one guy that was like there for like blink and you miss it. Like he has like two lines.
Which guy?
He was the guy with the bow, the arm.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was there for like a brief second, and then the other guy, I thought he was going to be more integral to the story, and he does nothing, and then he dies.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I feel like. So we get the introduction, and then we get the mother or the mistress
The stepmom.
or stepmom. She's something. She had a hard on for Ulysses.
Yeah.
Bloodstone,
well,
who is
she
now
said it was
dead.
her stepmother, so they were married.
And they were like, Elsa's here.
Yeah.
She's like, well, first of all, you meet her, you don't see her face because she's like, in mourning, so she has, the whole widow gear on. And then she like removes it and she has like that skunk, the skunk
hair?
line in her hair. And she's like, he's like, she's here, and she storms off into what probably takes like 20 seconds to get there. It's just the main hallway. So, we get to see Elsa, and I'm like, yes, thank you. I didn't know I needed this. I just never thought Marvel would put her in anything. She's like, I'm here for the stone, and then I'll fuck off, I guess. Like,
Pretty much. She's like, just give me what I want, and I'll leave. Like, that's it.
And then, do they ever tell you what the name of this? Her name's Verussa.
Verussa. Okay. The stepmom.
Also, my stomach just got so loud that the mic may have caught it. That was a gurgle. Verussa. She sounds like she was like she would have been one of the bratty children in like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
The actress was good. She played an unhinged but yet controlling character.
Yes.
So she did a very, very good job.
And she's like, you're like your mother. I don't like your mother because, she was with your dad before I was. That's
your father's biggest disappointment, blah, 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 blah. So they have a terrible family dynamic. Okay, I get it. Let's move on.
True, but I also love how much of a fuck Elsa does not give a shit about her comments.
Yeah. It seems like
usually in other movies.
It seems like she's been to therapy on her family trauma, and she's just over it at this point.
I know, because like usually in other movies, that would be a line that like breaks the main character, and then like you get the big turnaround at the end, where she's like, "I'm not a disappointment, I'm a success." Da 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 da. In this movie, she's like, "Okay, I really don't give a shit. Just give me the stone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here for you or them. Just give me what I want. I'll leave." But they do the whole, which is really. They do a little intro. I love the little comedic timing of her dragging the chair into the scene, just because
pure disrespect to the situation. It's great.
I would be Elsa in that situation. I'd be like, I'm gonna drag this very slowly, so this is intentional. And then we get the wind-up box coffin, which is, first of all, this side up. You pointed out.
Yeah, on the back, it was funny.
But it's just. You even reacted to it like, wow, because, it's a poor guy had to wind up the entire time.
Yeah.
He had to keep winding. You can tell it was a hassle. The coffin opens, and then what I'm guessing is a robot of Ulysses and not actually Ulysses.
No, from what I could tell, it was actually his body made into an animatronic, which is apparently what he wanted after he died. And it was a recording before he died of what he wanted his animatronic self to say. It was wild.
It was weird. This was the best thing is that is the weirdest part of this movie is just
Yeah.
animatronic man.
Yeah. You could tell he was obviously an eccentric.
I mean, you saw his house. It felt like
Good point.
his house felt like it was one dome. Like if you saw the outside of the house, it looks like it's just the main foyer and that's it. Like he sleeps there, he eats there, he probably uses the bathroom there. And also the one thing I really did like about this movie is you start and you don't know what time period you're really in quite yet.
Throughout the entire time, I was very confused at where we were,
And then the movie gave you hints, like in the I forgot what type of room that's called, where all the dead bodies were.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, whatever.
A mausoleum?
No, I don't know.
No,
Just where all the coffins were in the one area.
I'm sorry, I don't know dead facts, like facts about dead people. But there's a death date, and I think it was 1986. So I'm like, okay, it's post 86, and then you get the soldiers at the end, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty close to
modern,
probably current timeline.
Yeah, because they're
Marvel.
in like SWAT gear, like modern SWAT gear type of stuff.
Yeah. So it's nice knowing that they're not going to do this thing where it's a time jump and she didn't age and they have to like explain that through the Bloodstone. Right. It's just, it was a stylistic choice that, once everybody's like the main two characters reached their fulfillment, the color came in type of thing. But, it's like there's a monster and we're going to put the stone and that's going to make him all angry.
Pretty much.
And it didn't make him angry. It just made him adorable.
It did. So the whole point is like, okay, the hunt determines who leads the clan, and whoever can get the stone off the monster
gets the stone.
Yeah, and becomes the leader, and that's pretty much it. All gloves are off. You can kill other hunters. It doesn't matter. Just go for it.
And technically, I know they mentioned this. Elsa was supposed to get it, but then she left, so then it went vacated.
Right.
Hence is why this is happening.
Right.
So they do a whole... No, this is the one thing I don't like about it. I didn't like that chant. That, like, chanting bullshit.
Yeah, me neither. But it's to show how culty this shit is.
I know. But here's the thing. Like, in 20 more minutes, when they come in like, steal masks, you don't need to explain to me how culty they are.
I agree.
I can see it. Jack gets I guess he gets a tile that states he gets to go in first.
Yep.
He goes in first. And then we get an introduction to this maze. And I was like, you know what? This maze, you could tell someone was like a music background was directing this, because this looks like a music video maze.
Well, it's also supposed to feel like back in the 1920s and 30s when it was obviously a set. Yeah. So we're supposed to be feeling that, and it does a good job.
My question for you is, how much of this movie do you think was, besides the blood splat, because I do know that a lot of the blood splatter was probably VFX, a lot of this felt practical. There were moments where I think even at the end where they showed Man-Thing, I remember I asked you, like, I don't know if he's fully visual, because that mask looks a little too real.
It could have been a mixture for their main monsters. I think it was a mixture for Wolfman. I think a lot of it was practical, but some of it obviously was visual. And I think they did hopefully they did the same thing with Man-Thing. I would really hope it wasn't 100% CGI. There were scenes like when he was walking behind Elsa.
Yes.
Towards that to the escape route. I was like, oh, it's pure digital. Oh, I don't like it. It doesn't look good.
See, I didn't really mind it, but I think it's because black and white hides a lot of stuff, and they use the depth of field to make sure he was not like, 4K.
They do, but at certain points, I think maybe if they were using regular practical effects, when they did switch, it was very apparent. I think that might have been where I was noticing it.
I noticed it. So the moment I noticed it is whenever Man-Thing is still. It felt like what they maybe would have done is if you took a look at like the final scene, the way they focused the camera, his face was always in focus, but then the rest of his body was a little blurry. Part of me is thinking maybe what they could have done is they made like some form of puppet on a stick of his head that represented him, and so like his eyes, because even his eyes looked a little animatronic-y at times. I'm thinking that because at the end when they do a zoom in on his face and they kind of do all that stuff, it looks like rubber. It
Right.
looks like something that's practical.
Right.
And I loved it. I
hope
loved
so.
that.
I really hope that's the case. If it was visual, CGI the entire time, wow. Marvel gets a lot of shit lately with their CGI for obvious reasons, and unions and everything. Of course, we understand.
Yeah.
But if it was a lot of CGI, then bravo, good for them.
This is one of the times where I'll go, even the bad looked decent.
Right.
Like,
I agree.
This is one of those times where I think maybe it was just, Disney didn't really, because, if it's a Thor movie, a lot of companies are going to try and get their bid in to do a Thor movie or do, just any form of it has mainstream appeal. I feel like a lot of studios are going to want to try to put their the names in the hat. This one, it's like, it's a horror special, black and white. Maybe it was just only people who really cared really wanted to do this one because it wasn't, popular.
It could have been the case, but
it's going around. But we get the first interaction between Elsa and Jack, in the maze, and then Scottish Man comes and Elsa drops him real quick.
absolutely kicks his ass and steals his axe. It was great.
And then we get... Also, this is a very quick special, so it's like, boom, set piece, boom, another set piece. Like, it's just boom, boom, boom. We get the next one, which is her fighting dude with the gauntlet.
Yes. The spikes on the...
Yes.
The arm, yeah.
This is where shock, like, gasps came.
Yeah.
It was just because she cuts his hand off, which was already a little shocking because she cut his hand off with an axe.
We were like, ooh, okay, wow, crazy. And then the fight continued, and then she just shoots him in the throat / face.
And they like, because then she hides in the bushes, and they show him dying.
Yeah.
Like, they show him gagging.
And when she...
That was shocking.
Right before that, when she flips him onto the ground after his arm cut off, the blood is, like, splattering everywhere. I was like, oh, shit. For Disney, you're not expecting that.
I mean, for, like, we've seen so much gore. Like, if this was any other form of movie, we would be like,
But when you're
a lot
not
of blood. That's
expecting
nice.
it, when you're not expecting it and it happens, you're like, oh, whoa, okay.
This is jarring.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the mothers of the church see this one, and they're like, our children don't like this. Our children aren't allowed to watch this. You're supposed to raise our children for us. What else am I gonna do when I have to go out? Hire a babysitter, raise them myself?
God forbid.
I can't do that. Your cat's adorable.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry. Her cat's in like the top frame of our recording, and she looks so peaceful. But yeah, that's why when we talk about blood, it's shock for Disney.
Absolutely.
Sake. But she kills him. Mm-hmm. And it's, she pulls him into the bushes, and then Scottish Man comes back. He's like, ooh, my axe. And then he runs away.
Yeah.
Basically it. And then we get Jack talking to Man-Thing.
Yeah, because the Man-Thing grabs his chest through the bushes, and you're like, oh, shit, here we go. And, oh, guess what? They know each other, and they're friends, and he's coming to save Man-Thing. And we learned his name is Ted later. So I'm going to be calling him Ted.
I'll probably fluctuate, depending.
Okay.
I think there's going to be moments where I know him as Man-Thing.
He's adorable.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Man-Thing, I know what I didn't look because this is usually something where there was that brief period in time where Marvel and DC would kind of copy each other back and forth, like
Oh, yeah.
Deathstroke, Deadpool, da 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 da. I don't know who came first in Man Thing or Swamp Thing.
Right.
Because just because one's more popular now doesn't mean that they came first. It just means they're more popular now.
Exactly.
Like they just withstood better. Now I will say in today's current time period, I think people would say that Man Thing is a copy of Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where people's first assumption would go because everyone just kind of affiliates Swamp Thing more. Swamp Thing had movies directed by Wes Craven, had a TV show that's really fun to watch. It's a really good horror TV show. I own it. He's in Injustice 2.
Mm-hmm.
He's in stuff that's a little bit more mainstream, so people would probably just associate Swamp Thing with he came first. But he's adorable, and
He's so cute.
that bloodstone is not making him angry.
No, he's just upset because it hurts. Apparently, it weakens him.
Yes. Which makes me think, like, did Verussa really know what the bloodstone did, or was Ulysses weaving these little tales, and she was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah,
amazing."
I could see you thinking that, so that would be interesting if she really didn't know the true power.
And then she breaks into song at the end in her Latin number, and I was like, okay, so maybe the rituals and stuff, but maybe you don't know everything they do to monsters, so to say. But David Bowie overhears them, and so then David Bowie tries to chase him, but David Bowie fails.
David Bowie chases him into the
Where what's her name
where
is
the
where
coffins are, where Elsa is.
Yeah, where Elsa is.
Oh yeah, in her fight with the guy, she got sliced in the leg, and that was not fun. So she's kind of chilling.
It's the one thing I wasn't a big fan of with Elsa. And it's kind of how I feel about what they've been doing with a lot of the woman characters recently. That isn't Shang-Chi. Like Shang-Chi, they actually let them have their own fight styles. It just felt like I was like, okay, so she's Black Widow.
100%.
Like it feels like they give every single woman character now that's not like Captain Marvel or I forgot the character's name in Shang-Chi, but she was in Anywhere and Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They just give them a different form of Black Widow.
I think because it worked for Black Widow, and they're like, great, we don't have to work on female characters or their choreography. Let's just give them the same old shit all the time because it worked the first time.
But it makes sense. It makes sense for someone like Black Widow and Yelena.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're spies.
Yeah.
It's a very the way the fights go for them. It feels very espionage-esque in how they move. This felt like it didn't fit with Elsa. It felt like I was watching Black Widow.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like Elsa would just be more brutish in a sense. Like she would punch a dude out.
I would think so.
She felt like
too.
Jessica.
Yeah, I would think so too. You get that kind of vibe from her, but if you're looking at a famous monster hunter, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's go there. That's one of the most famous ones and of recent time. She did kind of acrobatic type of things, but that also was of its time. So I can see both sides of the story. I'm not surprised that they went towards the Black Widow type of thing, especially with Buffy. But I think I would have liked to see more brute strength.
I want more Xena and less Buffy.
Oh, please. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that.
But the actress looks like Jessica Jones. If you they have similarities in their facial structures. So my first assumption was I assume Jessica Jones and also I love Jessica Jones.
Oh, me too.
But just her aura, the way she acts, the way I kind of expected her to fight was to be a little bit more brawler.
Yeah.
With a little bit of... It felt like everything she was doing was a body scissor of some sort.
Yeah.
And the first time, it's cool. And I think that's the reason why Marvel may do it. It's because, like, people get shocked when they see a woman be, like, do
Whoa,
that type of
taking down
stuff.
this really big guy. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but it's also more shocking when she just decks him in the fucking nose and he goes down.
Yep.
Like, it can be both. Like, genuinely, it can be both. Like, Jessica Jones, the thing that made you laugh was how she would just strong arm these giant dudes.
So,
and that was it.
I mean, again, it's Marvel. They have a really, really, really bad record with female characters and female heroes. So I'm not surprised, but I would like a little bit of variety in our bucket.
And it's going to be like, they're trying to rectify it. They're adding a lot more, but I'm like, okay. It's not rectifying it if they're all the same fucking character.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course.
And hopefully they can slowly differentiate them from each other because it's nice. But when they're all the same, it feels like it's like, what's different about them? They have like a different little quirk. It's kind of where it gets a little annoying at times. Like, put some thought, please. However, they sit in a room together. She's tying her leg up. She's like, don't touch me. And I was like, I get it, girl. Like, same. I am with you on this one. Don't touch me. And they talk a little bit, and Jack just says, help me get the monster out. I'll help you get the Bloodstone. That's the deal.
Cool. Sounds great. Don't betray me or I'll kill you. And he's like, okay.
And she will. She most definitely will.
No, absolutely.
And she breaks into one of the coffins, which was a crazy aunt.
Aunt Frances, who thought she would come back to life. So she had an escape plan. She had this really cool, like, claw and a chain type of thing. And she had the keys to get out of the mortuary area thing.
So they get out, and Elsa goes to find Man-Thing. Jack goes to blow up a wall. He accidentally sets the bomb off.
Yeah, he did that by accident. Oopsie daisy, so they went and did that.
Shocking scene 2. Scottish man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. This is where I was like, I saw both of our faces. Our jaws dropped. We're like, oh, shit.
I think it was because, the first death, it was, okay, yes, there was blood, but it was, it was quick.
Yeah.
It was 1, 2, 3, it's over. The second death, Man-Thing breaks out, grabs him, and, like, burns him alive. Or,
he
disintegrates
claws his head. He just palms his head like a basketball, and it melts. And then his whole body just starts to melt. And I was like, oh, my God.
They went there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
I was expecting him to, like claw him or, like, bat him away. Like typical big monster doing it to the enemy. But, no, he just straight up burned him, and that was that.
I felt like what Marvel would have done in my head, like if this was like, if they Disney-fied it, was they would have shown it all through a silhouette on like a wall.
Right.
So you never saw it, but you got
like
you understood what just happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we saw it, and also the VFX didn't look bad when they got burned alive.
No, it looked good.
Black and white.
And lighting. Lighting is fucking key when it's black and white.
Oh, by the way, let's just go back real quick because I remember we didn't talk about this. When you get an introduction to all the hunters in the maze, there's that really good scene with the Scottish man with like the point lighting.
Right. There's a really good lighting shot when he's against a wall and he's coming towards the camera. You get the beautiful light on his eyes, and what's great. Okay, if you don't know, also back in the day when even with silent films and then going into black and white films with sound, they would put heavy makeup to accentuate certain features on the actors. And a lot of the times they would use very heavy eye makeup, a lot of mascara, and a lot of eyeliner to really accentuate those eyes and get a certain lighting effect. And they definitely did that for the Scottish guy. And you could tell in that scene, gorgeous. Throughout the film, there are really, really good lighting scenes, and I'm not going to point out all of them, but this was one in particular that I had to.
Oh, yeah. There was... Also, I just want to acknowledge one thing about this movie is the entire movie I was like, Elsa seems familiar. She seems familiar. Recently, we went on a vacation. And I forgot what show you said you liked. And then I was like, I don't like that show. I like this other show instead. And you went, you like Merlin, don't you? And I was like, yeah, of course I love Merlin. So I was like, I know her from somewhere. And right before we started recording, I was just like, oh, right. She's Freya in Merlin. And you looked at me with such, I don't even know the look. Because I was like, you can't look at me in disgust. It's a comment, but I think it was just more of a, of course, that's how you know her.
That's
like,
literally how I felt. Yeah.
This is how we know her, is because she was in Merlin. Hey, one of your crushes and one of my crushes are on Merlin.
Oh, I know.
But you know, wall blows up.
Ted
She
escapes.
does the whole Ted spiel of like, "Hey Ted,
Bye, Ted.
Jack told me to come and get you," and Ted's like, "Oh, all right, cool. I'm not gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Let's run." And they run. And at least the one thing I will say about the VFX on Man-Thing is when he ran, it didn't feel like he was running on air. He felt heavy.
Yeah.
Like he looked like he was a little heavy.
I think that also has to do with some camera effects they did.
Yeah. They get to the wall. Wall blows up. Man-Thing's like, I'm going to yeet myself out of here. Elsa does her little grapple hook moment.
Gets the bloodstone, and then Jack goes to pick up the bloodstone for Elsa, and it blows him away and, like, does this whole full-body electric shock. It completely paralyzes him.
And then everyone comes and is shocked, like, oh, shock horror. What? It's not like we saw this character turn into a werewolf in the trailer.
Whoa.
Crazy. And then Verussa comes and she's like, ha ha ha, he's a monster.
Infiltrated our sacred land and our ritual.
Which, like, I get that, but you were just riding his dick like 20 minutes ago, being like, he's killed 100 and the most that you've killed is like 40.
Yeah.
He's probably going to win. I also like when they say he's 100, all the other hunters like, what?
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, give or take.
So then, you know, how does Elsa get knocked out again?
She zaps her with one of the electric rods.
Yep. When you need a point, you need to move the plot forward, just cattle prod.
Yep.
Got it. We wake up, we're in a cage. We're back in the foyer. Also, I love how this movie only has like 3 like in-world set areas. It's like the house, the maze, and like the over-the-top shot of the house and maze. So kind of like the third ones. And she wakes up. Oh, sorry. Jack wakes up and Jack's like, I'm going to turn into a monster. Well, he's like, I'm not going to turn into a monster. Elsa's like, yeah, you are, dude.
He's like, oh, no. I only do it in a full moon. I lock myself away. You know, I have 5 days. And she's like, psych, the bloodstone will make you turn. He's like, fuck, I have some security systems in place. It will be fine. She's like, I don't believe you. And he goes and he
Let me smell you.
Yeah, he like does a really deep smell into her, obviously to get her scent. So he says so he doesn't forget her. And he said, oh, maintain eye contact. You need to maintain eye contact and I'll remember you.
Now, was the maintain eye contact a thing of maintain eye contact throughout the transformation or just in general?
I think in general. At first I thought it was during the transformation, but I think because it's so fucking painful, I don't think he'd be able to.
Yeah.
So it's when you see him, maintain eye contact.
Okay. That makes sense. Also, you should probably explain why, because he's like, I have all this stuff. And then he just smells her hair. Like, leaps on her. I'm like, dude, warn her about this shit. Because this is weird.
Desperate times, desperate measures. I think because his systems take time. So he's like, okay, we got 5 days. It's fine. I'll do my little systems. We'll be fine. And she's like, no, it's going to happen in like 5 seconds too. He's like, fuck.
And then we get the cult moment where they come in with the masks.
The masks were cool. They were cool.
It reminded me of remember Assassin's Creed Odyssey?
Oh my god, I was gonna say that too. We're such
I was like, I
fucking
know
nerds.
these masks. I know. Okay, listen, we don't get to do this a whole lot in the normal episodes because most of the time it's, you know.
It's another nerd side of us. So instead of horror, we do comics and video games. But yeah,
One of us is a little bit too much in the video games.
the MaaS were really cool. They come in, they do their little thing, and do you want to
She
talk?
does a Latin song number.
Yeah. Let's talk about the transformation. I want to discuss this with you because obviously with a werewolf movie, it's very important. Do you want to go first?
So, I remember I had an audible like ugh when they do the close up on his hand and you see his bones just starting to disform. Loved it. Good use of VFX because that's something you couldn't do back then. Like you couldn't show the fingers growing without making a practical effect of a hand falling apart. I like that they didn't show it. That it was instead through silhouettes and shadows and kind of
Okay.
left it to your imagination. Well, I'm a big fan of you have to be able to leave stuff to people's imaginations at some point. Considering I can tell Marvel would not give them a super big budget. Like this wasn't going to be something where they would like, if he went to them and just said, "Hey, can I get money for this?" But also, that VFX team would have had a fucking nightmare having to create that werewolf transformation. So for me, I think, personal preference, of course, it was more effective and more powerful on my end, seeing the silhouette and letting my mind imagine what he's going through. And also, he did a great job with his screaming to let me know this is not a pleasant experience. And Elsa did a good job of portraying this is horrifying to watch.
So that's an interesting take. I'm glad we have different feelings about this. The pinnacle, obviously, whenever you're thinking of a werewolf transformation, is American Werewolf in London. I don't care what you say. It is the peak. You can't fucking beat it, but I want to see you try to match it. So that's what I was expecting. When we saw his hand and we saw it go, we start transforming, I'm like, okay, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get the transformation. It's VFX. I'm like, okay, I get it. Whatever. We can't all do practical effects anymore. They can't afford them. So it's like, okay, that's fine. And then we didn't. And it felt like such a carrot on the stick moment for me. And it got taken away. I really, really, really liked the transformation in American Werewolf in London, so I wanted to see what they would do with it. And it fell short. But as the shot continued, I think Michael did a really good job with how he directed it. Because back in the day, when they couldn't show certain things on film, they would use silhouettes, like you said, for censor reasons. And they used to do these type of shots where you get the female character looking in horror, reacting to what's happening. And they did it, and they did it really, really well. The lighting was very well done. We get a kind of a highlight on her eyes to see that it's really like, affecting her. And I think they probably directed the actress to widen your eyes more, because that's what you had to be over dramatic for black and white films back in the day. In silent films. So she did a really good job, like you said, and the silhouettes was very well done. If I can't see the goddamn transformation, I think they did a really, really good job. Also, if you have any type of epilepsy issues, this is pretty much where it starts for the rest of the film, for flashing lights, and it was a little for my eyes, but just so you guys
Any shot with the werewolf.
Yeah.
Where it got very like, ooh.
Exactly. For effects, of course, but just so you guys know if you guys go and watch this afterwards.
I also like that they put the silhouette against her. While she was reacting, the silhouette is against her and everything. Course. I liked it. I liked that.
And it's a steady shot.
She was in the cage with him. So, I understand why she's freaking the fuck out.
Absolutely.
She's in the cage with this thing, which means even if it's not going to attack her, she's watching this, very up close.
Yeah. But if I couldn't get what I wanted, this was the second best thing, and they did a very, very, very good job.
Also, I don't know if maybe he wanted to do it, and Disney was like, "That's too far.
Yeah,
that's too much."
It very much could have been.
Now, the reason why I was a bigger fan of this as well was it led me to have so much anticipation of the final reveal.
That's
and they do that scene where they throw the smoke in. And hey, the first thing you said was, that looks good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does. And I liked their interpretation of the werewolf where his face was still human.
But
Like, you can tell who the person was.
yeah, but it looked Buffy-esque. I'm glad, because that shit always looked good on that show.
And they do the whole smoke grenade
Yes.
bit. And, well, first, he grabs Verusa's hand, and she's like, my hand.
But that's an old
prodded.
horror shot too back in the day where you get that kind of crane up from the bottom and then like the wide eye in the camera. It was well done.
And then he breaks out, and I remember just this anticipation of wanting to see him. And I think I think I may have noticed him like a split second before you did, where like he started to kind of undo himself from one of the rafters. Mm-hmm. Oh God, it was so good just because it was that thing of it didn't do it like right away. It kind of went around the room once and you're like, okay, where's the difference now? Where is that moment where you can tell he's there and you see him very subtly start to undo himself and you're like, there it is, it is, and attack. And then we get the fight scene.
Oh yeah, before we get to the fight scenes, because I want to get into that too, I just want to talk about his overall costume. We don't see much of it, but what we do see is really good. The hair is wiry and matted and missing in places, which is great. The body still looks human. It's a little bit hunched over more. I don't think it's as werewolfy as you would think American Werewolf in London, because that was more of an animal monster type of.
This feels more like Universal Movie Monsters Wolfman.
Absolutely, and obviously that's what they were going for. It looked really good. He sounded great. Overall, I was really, really happy with it.
And also, so you remember like 5 minutes ago or like 10 minutes ago, I was like, Elsa's fight style makes no fucking sense. His does.
Oh.
Like the way you see his werewolf body, it makes sense how he moves.
And he's doing things to, what's the quickest kill? Like as an instinctual animal being, he's like, what's the quickest kill? Slash the neck, slash the leg, flip them on the ground, claw their chest out. Like,
break their neck.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
And we get the scene where, back when the movie opens, there's like that mini hallway. Mm-hmm. And there's this entire fight scene. Him and Elsa kind of get split up. Elsa has her own stuff, and he's dealing with guards. And, you know, it's just kind of like, it's pretty steady, that shot of him in that hallway. And they do the first one of the swipe of one of the guards' necks. And it hits the camera.
Yep.
And I remember you and I were just like, it wasn't, I don't think we were shocked. I think we were just shocked that such a good stylistic choice was made in a Marvel movie.
And I don't usually like these type of shots, which is kind of surprising, I think, for me. I don't like the intentional dirtying of the lens. When it used to happen back in the day by accident, I was like, ooh, that's great. That's cool. Like, ooh, they left it in there. When they do it on purpose now, I'm like, you're trying too hard. But I did like it with this because I felt like it gave us that feeling. We're in the hallway with them. We're there watching it. And it's so goddamn gory that we're getting the blood on us. So it was pretty cool.
This is one of those things where it could have been done terribly.
Oh,
and
please.
I think if this wasn't made by a person who loves Universal Movie Monsters and understood what made them, this would have been done poorly.
With a little extra seasoning of modern expectations.
Yeah. And I think the fact that it was a static shot, the camera didn't move, it was in one hallway, and you kind of just saw everything happening, and you saw him. And the thing was, they never cut. They never cut back to her. They let him just have this entire moment.
Right.
So I feel like in other Marvel would have been like little blood swipe, and then they would have cut back to her, and then another little blood swipe, and then like cut back to her. And
it's rare because it's really hard to do, and it's a very expensive shot. But if this is where the budget was going, you could tell, and that's a good thing.
I also just loved how he leaped. I also liked how contained. Mm-hmm. I felt like the guards were fucked because they were in such a contained hallway, and this thing's so quick. It's so agile. It's so. just its mobility is insane. Like the way it bounced off walls.
Yeah. Plus the pure power behind it.
Yes. I remember there was one shot. I think it was. I don't know if it was in the initial attack or in the hallway where he swipes someone at the foot and they land on their fucking neck.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I was just like, I believe it now. I believe this guy's fucking scary because this dude just let a dude. It's very primal. It's very just animal instinct the way he attacks. And then you get the. I even liked when he started to swipe out the door
100%.
to try to escape.
Because it's a primal instinct. He's like, I gotta get out of here. That's all he was trying to do. And then we cut back to Elsa, and she's kicking fucking ass. She's taking names for those.
She slit a throat.
Yeah, those hunters were absolutely nothing compared to her.
Now, I will say, the first one she kills, it wasn't. I didn't care about it as much because we just saw this werewolf slit like 5 throats in a row.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's a throat slit. It's surprising, but
like,
it's kind of just, it's losing its luster.
But
and then she does.
I did like how fast the fights were. We weren't doing over the top Marvel fights. It was just like 1, 2, 3, maybe 8 moves, and they're done.
Yes, and also the sword fighting was actually not bad.
No, it was pretty good.
Sword fighting was pretty good. And she fights David Bowie. She does the neck slit. I'm like, okay, another neck slit. And then she puts the sword in her fucking head.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, shit. That's brutal.
That was you and I were like, and the thing was they showed the sword and they cut back to her dead body. I was like, yo, they did it. And then Versa gets the grapple hook in the back.
Yeah, because at this point, while Elsa was fighting the hunters, Versa was using the bloodstone on Werewolf Man, unfortunately, and she went to go save him.
She goes to save him. Werewolf Jack, of course, goes for the attack.
Mm-hmm. On Elsa.
But he remembers enough to know that she's safe.
Because she did what he told her to do with Ted, is like, act like you're an old friend, use his name, and they'll try to remember you, so it worked.
And
that was a nice scene too. I liked it.
Yes. And also, I like that this was the first time we saw his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was like the moment where it mattered to see his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You did.
We're humanizing him at that point.
Yeah. And there was one thing that they could have done that was going to piss me off. I was like, I swear to God, she strokes his face. I'm fucking done with this. Because it's one of those things that I associate with Universal movie monsters that I now consider bad. It's like, it's so overdone. Like, you rub the monster in his face. And it's like, he's not a monster. He's a hairy man.
Yeah.
And the fact that she didn't do that, I was like, thank God. Just, they don't need romance.
She was shaking the entire time.
Yes.
She was petrified.
And then Verista's like, we're back to the disappointment party, baby.
Oh, well, so Wolfman leaves, and, he dipped, and she's like, oh, my God. And then Versa is up, and she's like, you ruined everything, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, by the way, I think we forgot to mention, the coffin that Ulysses is in is destroyed at this point.
Oh, not yet. Not yet.
Does Man-Thing destroy?
Yeah. So
it's Man-Thing.
When
okay.
Man-Thing comes down, he basically just grabs Versa's body, melts her completely, tosses her, and it hits Ulysses' grave, and he
his head rolls.
Yeah, he becomes nothing.
I will say that Man-Thing, this was a good job because the movie went on so long that I just thought Man-Thing was gone.
Me too.
And I was like, okay, what's gonna happen here? Because Elsa can't die, but how's Elsa gonna bad bitch her way out of this? Because you kind of assume that, she has the bloodstone, she has the grapple hook, she's gonna bad bitch her way out of this. And then Man-Thing just fucking comes out of nowhere, just drops down and melts her. You're like,
yeah.
I wanted that. I just didn't think you were gonna do that.
Exactly. And then she's like, oh, hey, what's up, Ted? He went that way. And he's like, okay, cool. Bye.
This is where I say it got its Marvel humor, because that's a very Marvel-esque scene.
Yeah.
And if I have to critique the movie, that's probably the one scene I can do without. I don't mind if they talk. We've already set up like all that stuff that she can't talk to him and Ted can't understand her and all that stuff. I just think the fact that it was so kind of lighthearted it was such a lighthearted sequence that was following such a very tense moment kind of killed it.
Depends on the person. I can understand that,
Yeah.
but sometimes a lot of main audiences need that tension depleter, so they put in a little bit of comedy. It happens all the time. I agree.
Yeah.
It's more personal taste, though.
I think my other issue with it is it's a very how do I put this? It's very American humor.
Yeah. I think what I would have liked is if she just said, thanks, and then he went, "Rawr," and then he would have left. I think that would have
And
been
then
fine.
maybe she just like points and she's like,
Yeah, I think that would have been fine.
going. And then he goes.
Yeah.
And then good old Butler's still alive.
Yeah.
Mr. Rotator himself, he's alive. And he's now using the crank as a cane.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And Elsa's like, okay, yeah, clean this up, please. I own this place now. And then Somewhere Over the Rainbow plays. Again, I didn't need the song. I'll be honest
I get
here.
it
Didn't need the
because
song.
we are referencing a certain time period and certain type of movie. Come on. You know.
I get it. I get it. And here's the thing. If you're going to use a song from a movie, it does make sense to do it from a song from a movie that goes from black and white to color like
Exactly.
we do here. I
But
understand it. I just don't like it.
that scene was very nice. I didn't think it was going to go to color. And then when she sat down and the music played and it happened, it was nice. I really did like it.
It was. I just liked that we got to see what was making the black and white. Like,
Right.
Just on her, at least.
Right.
I was also surprised by her outfit because it's, they kind of inverted some of her comic book color scheme. It just like it inverts itself a little bit, which is nothing wrong. I was just surprised that it got inverted because I was expecting like her coat to be black. No, sorry, her coat to be like a brownish. The fact that it was like full on orange, I was like, wow, they actually they inverted it into an orange. And then we cut to the scene I was scared of. On first shot, I was terrified. Because it's showing Man-Thing in color. And I was like, no. He
Don't do
only
it.
looks good in black and white.
Yeah.
He's only going to look good in black and white. He's going to look like shit in color. And then I realized that his tentacles on his mouth looked very rubber. So part of me was like, okay, I think his head's real. And that's why they keep zooming in on his head, because it's real.
Exactly. And it's sunrise, so there's not a heavy lighting system that they need to use. It's still very murky. They're in the woods, so it's muted lighting, and I think that helps. But I'm going to say I don't think I needed this. I really don't. I don't think I needed this. I don't need to see Man-Thing and Jack having like a hee ha ha moment. I don't know.
It should have ended on Elsa, the color rising on Elsa.
Yes.
That's how
And
it should have ended.
If you want to end on something else, you can end on maybe that classic like Wolfman on the hill, like ow type of thing. If you want to include him, but I really don't think you needed this scene at all.
I think this scene should have played at the end where it goes like Werewolf by Night, and it's finally in color, and it's like the red, and it's like
After the credits,
deep
type of
shadows,
thing?
right after that credits
agree.
of the initial credits.
Yeah.
You can play it then,
Yeah.
because then it's separate.
separate.
I get it. It's the Marvel bit.
Yeah.
But I was a little weirded out when they cut to them, because it felt like such a proper ending for it to end on the color fading in on Elsa.
Yeah,
like
and
it felt proper.
The emotions behind that compared to this ending, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I will say one thing though. Seeing Elsa and her final thing of like, hey, how do I start by cleaning this shit up? I want Jessica Jones in the MCU so bad now.
100%.
There are so many characters that she can mesh so well with.
I know. I want it so bad.
I think it can. I think it probably will happen, because she's one of the two popular characters of the Netflix series.
I know, and they already got the other one, so it would be really nice. Am I holding my breath? No, but
I would say she will do a TV show. But if you expect a character like her to appear in movies, not happening.
Right.
She is 100% going to be what they're setting up their Disney Plus universe with.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
especially because they're really doing a lot of Marvel Knight stuff. Daredevil, Moon Knight. She's like, you know, she's gonna be part of it at
Oh,
some point.
100%.
I really just want to see her and Elsa talk now.
Absolutely.
Just an interaction, just because they have such similar personalities. It's kind of like when people really excited with like Iron Man and Rocket Raccoon were going to interact for the first time, just because they seem like they would mesh very well together. And when you saw them, they kind of did. They had a good banter to them. But I want to see those two have an interaction. And I also just want to see like She-Hulk have an interaction with Jessica Jones.
Absolutely. That's what I would want to.
I just want to see Jessica Jones telling everyone to fuck off. That's all I want. Like I like just have an episode where she just walks. Just have
Insults
it could be
everybody.
a special. It could be one special where she sees them all. She's like walks into their house and she's like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
You
That's
owe
all
me
I
money.
need.
But-
I actually fucked you. But you know what's weird?
Uh-huh.
We got a lot out of this like short bit. This went longer than some movies that were like 90 minutes, 100 minutes.
Yeah.
I just think it shows how much we did enjoy this.
We had substance here. But let's give our little. I know we pretty much talked about it, but let's just give a little roundup of what we thought.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Cool. Okay, everybody, I'll kick off this roundup. I did enjoy this. Like I said in the beginning, I came in here with semi-low expectations, but I did thoroughly enjoy myself. Their goal to make it seem like old Universal Monsters, 1930s types of film, really did work. Across the board, we have costuming, lighting, set design, camera work, just really, really well done. I was very surprised, especially coming from Disney and Marvel, who don't have a really good track record with being different and trying things out. Overall, I'd give this maybe like a 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8 for enjoyment. I think the only thing that did kill it, we did talk about, is some of the classic Marvel comedy moments. I didn't need it. And especially the ending, I would just completely cut out that last scene. And either, if you want to include it, put it as an end credit scene. Not right after your movie. But other than that, yeah, it was pretty good.
For my end, I was expecting this to be good. Okay. I saw the trailer when it came out. I was like, this can't be anything but amazing. At least for me. Like, just for me as a person. It ended up exceeding even my expectations of what I was anticipating. Just because at the end of the day it was Marvel, and I was like, it'll be a 7 at best. Just because Marvel's gonna Marvel. And, besides those little moments, like, my only big issues were really that little Ted interaction. I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I can live with. I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I can live with. The ending, I didn't really like. I wished it just ended on Elsa, and then that, like you said, end credit. Camera work was great. Lighting was great. Set design was fantastic. Practical, when you kind of sit there and you're like, I take what I can get. I don't want to be that guy, but just seeing that they really put an effort into practical in like certain regards. At the end of the day, you were not getting Man-Thing practically. It was not gonna look good and be practical unless you were spending millions and millions. But the busts, the parts of Man-Thing that I'm pretty sure were pretty practical, the parts of Jax Wolfman that were practical, it all worked. It may have just been the black and white, that may be a part of it, but it worked. I also loved the stone maze, like how it was just very stone-like, and very Alice in Wonderland-esque is how I always felt it was like. We were like probably 20 minutes into this movie. I stated I'm gonna watch this on Halloween again.
Yeah,
just I have to now. And it's short, so it's an easy watch. For me, let's see. I'm gonna shock you.
Okay. Don't give it a 10.
No.
Okay.
I'm not giving it a 10. For my preference and like just what I enjoy, and me wanting to watch it again and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
my scale was out of
Um,
enjoyment purely.
Yeah, 9.5.
Okay. Wow.
The thing is, I would if they cut out honestly, if they cut out that ending, I would have given it a 10.
Okay. That's fair.
I would have lived with the man thing. I'd have been like, that's just a preference thing. Don't like the preference part. I would have lived with it. That ending
I agree,
ruined it for me because it had a perfect ending of, Somewhere Over the Rainbow playing.
Felt good.
Not the biggest fan, but I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything happening on Elsa, loved it. And then we just cut to Man Thing and Jack, and I didn't care about them anymore.
Yeah, I didn't need
like,
that
I felt
anymore.
like they lived out their purpose in this special.
Absolutely.
They're going to come back. They're great. But they lived out their purpose here.
Absolutely. And I also forgot to mention the music was really good, obviously, because it's Michael.
Yes.
Duh.
I was going to say, this is one of those few times where I can't say, like, oh, I didn't like the music. I thought the music was great. I thought, even down to, I remember I mentioned at the end of the movie, even the title card was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great title card.
You know who I would have really liked? I was watching this and I thought this was really, really good. But you think who would, for me personally, would bring something a little extra special if he directed it? If Sam directed this, Sam Raimi.
A lot of people were mentioning that as well. I think maybe this opens up the door to let Sam do a Halloween special in the future.
God, that's all I'm asking for. I know I'm not going to get an Evil Dead out of him anymore, probably. Bruce is done, I know. But I want a Halloween special. Please give it to me, Sam. That's all I'm asking.
I mean, here's the thing. If he does... In reality, I'm going to say this. If Marvel Zombies stays popular long enough, I can see them letting him make a special for Marvel Zombies.
That would be fun. Be different.
And that fits his whole spiel very well.
Yeah.
But that was also, I just want to say, I already know the haunt for this movie. I already have the haunt set up.
You
You start in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
You start in the hallway, go into the foyer.
Yep.
You'll see Mr. Ulysses being like,
I think he should be talking to you the entire
do?
time as you're walking through.
We do the maze.
Yep.
We do a Man-Thing scare.
Yep. In the maze.
In the maze,
Mm-hmm.
of course. We do his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the first thing you see is his hand. You do... And also, I just like it because the hunters can act as scares.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you do a few maze shots. You do the record player. So I
the megaphone type of thing. Oh, fuck. It's a phonophone or something like that. Whatever.
Do that. Then we do, just a bunch of the maze. We go back to the place now. We see the silhouette, like maybe through the window or like just through like a transition room of Jack transforming.
Yes. Lightning. I would think lightning would be cool.
You get like a foggy room because to represent the grenades that went off, and then you just get that ending.
Carnage.
Carnage. And then the ending room is just the room is now in color, like the house.
Yes.
Like you're leaving it in color.
Yes.
It started black and white, ends in color. But that is it for this episode.
Yeah.
We got a lot more out of it than I thought a 53-minute special would have ever gotten out of it.
It was really enjoyable. A nice shocker from Marvel for spooky season. Also, check out Hocus Pocus 2. It's a really good time. It's very charming, especially if you have kids. It's a really good time. Just check it out. I'm just saying. And yeah, that would be it. Next time, we're going to be doing a Halloween special-esque.
Esque?
Yeah.
I like how we both knew what this meant.
So
we're going to watch 1 and 2 on our own?
Yes.
The Halloween and Halloween Kills.
Yeah, Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and then since Halloween Ends is going to be coming out very, very soon, we're going to be talking about it. So it's going to be a culmination of this trilogy, and then mostly we're going to be focusing on Halloween Ends and how it ends.
Yeah,
So
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like we can maybe spend a little time in the 2018 one. There's not a whole lot in that Halloween Kills. It's like he kills people.
No, that's pretty
about
much
the
it.
movie. It's like he kills a few people.
It's the second one in a trilogy. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, and also I have to preface this. We both fucking love Jamie Lee Curtis so fucking much.
So we're gonna have a hard time when we talk about the last one because we know what happens. Don't spoil it.
Well, we know what's going to happen
Obviously,
because
just
it's not out yet.
But yeah, so please join us. And is it our 1-year anniversary right now?
Oh my god, today.
Okay, we'll talk about it in the Halloween one. It's fine. So it's our 1 year of
happy 1 year to us.
the podcast. Yeah, woo!
Woohoo, party.
Yay!
One more episode. We have to note that though. It's one more episode until Season of Monsters officially begins.
Yeah, so we are getting into a season of transition. So please join us next time. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.